Alright, what's going on everybody? So today's video, we're talking about all the early gameplay that we have seen over the past week or so for Supercross 25. Really quick, all the gameplay that is shown in this video from Supercross 25 will be from Wyndham 151, Kimizin, or Enduro game. So if you want to watch the full entire gameplay, I'll leave their channels down in the description in case you want to watch the full gameplay and give them credit because it's their gameplay. Now before we talk about my thoughts, I want to say that I wasn't asked to have early access to the game, which I understand. I'm very critical and sometimes unfair of Milestone in the past few years, right? But I asked a fellow YouTuber called Troy Jan. I don't know if you've heard of him. You know, he's only the most popular motocross YouTuber probably right now, and the fastest growing one I think we've ever seen. Dude has like 140,000 subscribers. I asked him if Milestone wanted him to have early access to the game and, you know, promote it or whatever. And he says no, they know how that would have went. Now I understand he is an MX Bikes YouTuber, but he's not somebody who hates all of their games, right? He's kind of like me and despises their last, I don't know, 5-6 games, whatever. So the fact that they didn't even want him promoting their early gameplay just kind of is a bit of a red flag to me. I don't know why. You know, I understand me and him are very critical of Milestone and these last few Supercross games. But if this is a really good game, I would think you would want Troy Jan promoting early gameplay for Supercross 25. I'm just going to put that out there. Think of that information however you want. Because believe it or not, he wants a good motocross game. I want a good motocross game. Our opinions are very, not highly of Milestone the last few Supercross games. But I would think if you made a really good game, you took a 2-year break, you would probably offer Troy Jan an opportunity to play the game early if it is a great game. That's just all I'm going to say about that. So all of this gameplay was from a build that was in like late November, early December. So it is technically a preview build, whatever you want to call it. But the physics, these are the final physics. They won't change. If you go back and look at any previous Milestone game, every time they say preview build, early build, whatever the hell, stuff can change. Nothing ever changes. And the only game that I can remember and looking back on it that has looked different from early gameplay is MXGP2. Go back and look at the early gameplay from that game and then look at how it looks now. It's like a completely different game. Every other game that they've released after that has been the exact same physics-wise, so don't expect physics to change. When I first seen the gameplay, I was kind of shocked, I guess. I think I was expecting a lot more. Now, yes, I made a video saying I wasn't excited for Supercross 25 like a couple months ago, but at the same time, I had pretty big expectations because they took a 2-year break from making a game, basically, right? They just focused on this one the last couple, 2-3 years, however long it's been. And they said they completely revamped the physics. They built it from the ground up, whatever they want to say. But then when I seen the gameplay, I don't know. I think the physics definitely look different from the last like few Supercross games, which were pretty much the same games. But at the same time, something about this game just looks a little off to me. I would say it's an improvement on the last few Supercross games, visually, like the physics and stuff. But at the same time, I don't think it really looks better than the first 3 games. Maybe Supercross 1, but Supercross 2, and especially Supercross 3, it does not look better than those games. And for this being the 7th Supercross game, the first one came out in like 2017, I was expecting a bit more, for sure. But there definitely is some positive changes, and we're going to talk about them right now. So the 2 most popular things that they reworked with this game, changed, is first, they have the free whip system. Now, the last few Supercross games, mainly Supercross 3, 4, and 5, they were already practically a free whip system. You just couldn't throw like some crazy fucking whips and stuff like that, and you couldn't really throw insane scrubs when pulling your sticks in the same direction. You could just throw some decent whips. That was basically it. But now, from what I've heard from watching Wyndham's video, it is a free whip system. You no longer pull your sticks apart to throw whips, which is a great positive. Everyone's been asking basically since, like, I don't know, 2014, 15, whatever, for that to be a thing, and it's finally happened about a decade later. If you look at them, the animations when he's scrubbing some big triples, whatever, looks pretty clean, looks pretty smooth, but at the same time, I think they look a little bit too slow, in my opinion. They could speed them up. I don't know if that's something that will change. I doubt it. And at the same time, the free whips look oddly clunky in a way. I don't know, maybe it feels better than it looks, but it definitely looks very stiff and rigid, which isn't the greatest. But maybe when you play it, it feels completely different, and I could be very wrong. Now, some of the whipping animations look very similar to what we've seen in like Supercross 3, 4, and 5, but I would say they're definitely improved on from those games. And I think the main thing is that the controls are now no longer push the sticks apart, so some of the whips may look similar, but I think how you control the bike will feel completely different and much improved, which is a good thing. Now, the next biggest change they've done with Supercross 25 is definitely the track or terrain deformation. This is something that we have been asking for every Supercross game, and this is the first time we are seeing it. At first, I didn't even notice it because it's hard to tell on video, but I had to get my magnifying glasses out because, man, it was actually really hard to tell. But looking here through Wyndham's video, I really noticed it in this corner. You can tell there's three, like, I wouldn't call them ruts. They look more like pre-made berms almost. But it's a form of terrain deformation, and it is there, which is a good thing to see. But at the same time, I was expecting a lot more with the terrain deformation they were talking about. After listening to what Wyndham said and just looking at the gameplay, it looks like they are predetermined no matter what. Which kind of defeats the purpose of a terrain deformation. You should be able to form lines anywhere your bike goes. If you look at Reflex, like that game did it perfectly. Now, I could be wrong, but I really hope that these things are not completely predetermined and every corner has three, mediocre looking lines. I hope that's not the case. I do think that the terrain deformation could be intensified more. It looks like it's really hard to tell on camera. I think the ruts could be far more deeper and not form like these complete trenches. That's just my opinion on them. I think it looks it's good to have it in the game, but at the same time, I think it could be a lot better. Wyndham was saying that you can hook up in them pretty good, and he felt connecting into the rut, so that's a good sign. I'm actually surprised Milestone added some sort of terrain deformation, but at the same time, I was expecting more. I really was. Also, something else Wyndham said is, if you want to do tight, sharp turns, you have to turn your sticks in the opposite direction. And apparently that's something that they actually purposely implemented into this game's physics. And hearing that just kind of like, it sounds pretty weird because obviously in like Supercross 4 and 5 and like 6-3, all those games, the meta was to whip glitch in corners to turn faster. And now essentially they have purposely implemented that into the game. I don't know about that. I think you should just be able to turn the bike sharp by hitting the rear brake and turning your left stick. I don't know about that. It sounds pretty weird to me. Maybe it feels better than it sounds, but it doesn't sound like a good idea. It seems like the bike has a good amount of traction, which is nice to see. Doesn't look like you're going to be just sliding out everywhere and understeering everywhere. But at the same time, the steering looks a little heavy, so maybe you do understeer a little bit. I could be wrong. But it's nice to see that you can actually have some traction and corner, because in Supercross 6, my God, every time I go back and play that game, it just feels worse and worse. I really enjoy how fast the game looks. It seems like you accelerate maybe a little too quick at the corners, but I think the speed is a good change, because the last couple games were maybe a bit too slow in my personal opinion. And it also seems like the track's textures seem to be fixed. In the last few Supercross games, something with the dirt texture just looked completely off, but it seems like they may have finally fixed them with this game, which is a good thing to see. It's also hard to tell if the AI is good or not. It seems like they're fast on the national track, and then maybe not the best on the Supercross tracks, but we have a very small sample size. They're supposed to be adaptive and take different lines and adjust to how you ride. I really don't believe that, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see when I get my hands on the game. So the physics change overall looks positive. But it doesn't look completely groundbreaking in my personal opinion. It seems like majority of people actually like the look of the physics, which I was kind of surprised by. I wasn't too blown away by it, but it seems like majority of people online kind of enjoyed the way the physics look, which is a positive. The community has never really been happy with the physics with Milestone, or at least recently. But the main complaint that I have and everybody else noticed is the tracks look completely off. They look awful. The scaling of the jumps is off. They're all rounded off, not pitched. Some of the corners are so damn wide for no reason whatsoever. I don't think they laser scan these tracks. I think they built them a different way because obviously some of these tracks they haven't raced at yet, so they can't really just go and scan them when they're not built. So I think they built them from blueprints or something like that. So maybe that's why the scaling seems off. I know we've only seen a couple tracks, but if these are the best tracks that they have to show, that just kind of scares me a little bit. Yes, I imagine some of these tracks won't be completely accurate because they haven't raced there in real life on some of the tracks, but these tracks look awful, man. The scaling of the jumps looks similar to like Supercross 1, where everything was just super easy and rounded off. It looks like you can blast through rhythm sections like whoops again. The whoops look super tiny, back to Supercross 1 style. I don't know why I don't know. Something is completely off with the scaling of the tracks. Yes, they could tweak some of the jumps. I hope they do, but I don't see it happening. I do agree that the physics look better, but if you do not have good tracks and they're all built horribly, the game just won't be fun as well. Like, you have to have good physics and good tracks. You can't just have good tracks and bad physics. You can't just have good physics and bad tracks. You have to have both. I believe Wyndham said he liked the scaling of the tracks, and maybe it felt different, but everybody online can basically agree the tracks and the scaling look horrible, and that's like the biggest thing they have to change. 100% is the tracks. And I went back and played Glendale on a couple different Supercross games and some of the other tracks, and you can just see in the here of Supercross 3 and 2 how much better the tracks look. The scaling of the jumps are huge. They're super pitched. You get lots of air. You can't just blow through all the rhythm sections like whoops. Everything's not undersized. Like, the tracks in Supercross 2 and 3 were amazing. They were super difficult. It was hard to hit rhythms consistently. Bunch of different lines. But with these tracks that we have seen from Supercross 25, they look super easy, super simplified, and just off. Also, I forgot to mention that the bike sounds, I think, are the same as Supercross 6. They sound pretty good, so no complaints for bike sounds here whatsoever. So as I'm editing this video, Wyndham posted another gameplay for Supercross 25, and that was first person. I was going to show some clips of that and talk about it in this video, but he actually deleted that video, I don't think, too long ago, so Milestone wanted him to take that down. Apparently there was an issue with the early build for first person. All I'm going to say is, if you did see the gameplay, it was the worst first person we have seen in a Supercross game easily. There was just zero field of view. You couldn't see your hands or handlebars, and you could barely see your front fender. So I'm not sure if Milestone plans on fixing that, or if they just realized how bad it looked and they don't want anybody seeing it whatsoever. Not too sure about that, but I'm just gonna leave you guys with that information. So overall, my thoughts on the early gameplay. I think the terrain deformation, it's good to see it finally be implemented into a Supercross game, but I was expecting more. The ruts could definitely be deeper. The lines should not be predetermined like they are, but it is a good thing to see. I doubt it will change that much, but maybe in the next game it will be much better. But right now, the terrain deformation looks just mediocre. It really does. As far as the free whip and air physics, I think the scrubs and animations look really good, but they look really slow. They have to be sped up. It's good to finally see free whips in this game. We've kind of had them in the past, but it's good to finally see them like completely free. I'm glad that you have lots of traction, but the steering just looks a little heavy for whatever reason. I'm not a fan of turning the steps in the opposite direction to turn sharp. I think that's a terrible idea. But maybe it feels better than it sounds. And my god, the tracks look like shit. I'm just gonna say it, they look like shit. So that's pretty much all I have to say for this video. I'm gonna be picking up this game, doing a review video on it day one, all that kind of stuff. I was just expecting more, honestly, how they were marketing the game and stuff like that. But let me know what you guys think down below. That's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, take care.